We're joined this morning by finance expert, program director, and adjunct professor of business, Western Governor University, Dr. Matthew Bukola. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me also.
Yeah. I mean, there's already a lot of, emotions that arose yesterday when these stories came. From later conversations, I'm starting to see like it's a trust deficit challenge, with the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government. But help us explain, break it down. It is expected that pension funds are investments already. Does the nation currently have its pension funds readily seated in an account to begin with? Do we have up to 20 trillion naira just waiting, to be invested?
Looking at the Pension Act of the way it is structured, the pension fund is already being invested in maybe shares and bonds and maybe other international investment platform. But looking at what the former vice president was talking about is that they shouldn't just take this money and invest in infrastructure. Really going about what the honorable minister also said, and I was also in Nigeria 2 weeks ago. The Nigerian government, the Nigeria economy needs a lot of infrastructure to build up the economy. And I know that, like he said, you can't just dip your hand into the pension fund because of the act. The act is strict and is well regulated. But I also know that Canada and Australia has similar scheme like this, where they also use their pension fund to invest in their economy, also invest outside. But looking from the noise from everywhere, which is also a good noise, is that from past experience, I know like our own fathers worked, and at the end of the day, they weren't able to get anything from their pension after they had retired. That's why the pension fund came and is being managed by private sector fund managers. So what I expect from government at this point in time is which he said, is to have more dialogue with the stakeholders, different stakeholders, and to be sure that they follow strictly through the law. Right now, those pension funds are invested in structured investment where government can monitor and regulator also can monitor it.
All right. Just to also clarify, obviously, Nigeria has been through a very tumultuous time economically, yeah. And there's a lot of trust deficit that is at play here. At the slightest look of anything that would infringe on the hardship or cause more hardship to Nigerians, of course, there will be a reaction. How exactly can the government calm down the fears of the Nigerian people? Now, we know that the Nigerian Pensions Guide, only a maximum of 10% can be allotted to infrastructure. Is 20 billion 10% of our pensions fund one? And how can we deal with this trust deficit that's currently existing?
Well, the best thing for government is to come up, be transparent. They need to be transparent in everything that they do. They need to really, and like he said in his word, it's just an information. So they need to break it down, meet with every stakeholder involved. You have the Nigerian Labour Congress, which you need to carry along and let them understand where you're going to invest the money in. And when you invest it, when is the return coming back in? So that when people retire, they don't get back to their pension managers, and at the end of the day, they can't get any money. So they need to be transparent. They need to have a lot of stakeholders meeting with various stakeholders and be transparent in whatever industry that they are really investing the money. Like I said, Australia does this, Canada does this, and it's been helpful to their economy. But in both countries, there are strict laws. In certain industry, they cannot invest in those industry, but in certain industry, they can invest there because they know that the return on investment is quick and the return on investment is guaranteed. So we need to know where they want to invest those money in and enlighten people.
Yeah. These are, obviously also just signs that the Nigerian government is constantly in search of funding.
Correct.
from one sector or the other. If it's not cybersecurity levy, it is pension fund. If it's not pension fund, it is going to be something else. And so what would you, expect that what steps do you think that they should be taking if they truly are trying to raise money to fix the infrastructural deficit, that we currently have, across the country? Nigerians are tired of hearing about roads. We've been fixing roads forever. There's so much more that needs to be done, obviously, to take us from where we are today to, into a much more developed society. And every government, successive government has, to a large extent, failed. So, I mean, what other pathways would you advise the current administration to look into if we truly are trying to raise more money to fix the same infrastructural deficit?
Well, I mean, like you rightly said, we've been in this for a long time, fixing road all the time, doing most especially the way I see this government being run and where they should look more is partnering with the private sector. And as Nigerians also, when we are back home, we tend to think every infrastructure has to be done by government. There needs to be a paramount change, a mind change. Our mind needs to change. Over here, some roads are tolled. When you pass through them, you have to pay toll. If you don't pay the toll or you don't have the device to pay that toll, they'll send you your receipts back home. So most of this infrastructure needs to go to the private sector, but we're regulated. Because another problem is that when you bring in the PPP initiative, it becomes too expensive. If government can regulate those PPP that they do with private sector and make sure that the burden doesn't fall too much on the people, I think the people will understand. Everybody, like I listened to your last conversation, light. Yes, everybody wants light. I told you I was just back 2 weeks ago, and most of the time I ran generator all through. If there was light, yeah, people are ready to pay for it, and that can also create small-scale industries where people can then work. So for me, it's for them to partner more with the private sector, and also they can also raise fund through bonds. They can raise fund through bond if it's not that expensive, because right now all over the world the dollar is expensive, not just in Nigeria, and that's what I keep telling people. Not just in Nigeria, in major countries, the dollar is expensive. That's why each country is trying to work with one another. They say, oh, you take my currency. When I buy from you, then I take your currency, because the dollar is expensive. Nobody knows why that is. Inflation is high everywhere. Over here, inflation is also on the rise. And that's why the election over here now is seen on just one platform, the economy. What will happen? Inflation is high everywhere. So I believe that government should look more into private partnership with the private sector, but also look at the pricing so that it doesn't become a burden on the citizen.
Do you see this government as government that is thinking?
Well, I mean, from some of the initiatives that they've done, you can understand that the majority of people in this government understand the problem. But we had an election that was polarized, just like every other nation. When you are at the crossroad, the election was based on, I probably say, on sentiment. So even if it wasn't this government that was in, if it was the other government that was also in, they will also face the same problem. And that's why I say Nigerians we should forget the electionary period. Now it's time to come together and work together as one and make sure you don't need attacking government all the time. Yes, they are going to come up with proposal, but if they are really transparent, like the way they've been doing, bringing out things out and seeking stakeholders' voices on it, we should be able to get out of the wood quickly. That's my...
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us. We certainly will update. We'll keep following up with the story, and if more developments come, we'd love to have you back again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right.